time. We're going to talk about time in the market when it comes to Pokemon card investing. Hey, if you're new here, my name's Michael /PokeOz. We talk all things Pokemon card investing with a particular lens on the sealed product. And if you're returning to the channel, thank you so much for tuning back in. It means a lot. I'm just going to show one picture up here on the board, and I'm going to talk to it for the whole video. Once you look at this picture, you don't need to watch anymore. This is one where you can pop your headphones in while you're going for a walk. You can pop the Bluetooth on through your car speakers while you're going for a drive, or just pop it on the background while you're doing some housework. But this picture here, and I'll talk to it for the whole video essentially, but what it shows here, and look, I asked AI to generate this image. And look, it's a little bit of a play on words, of course, and it's the young man waiting for Pokemon or sealed Pokemon card prices to come down. As you can see, he certainly isn't a young man. And where I got the idea for this picture from, and look, I just went through Google AI generator and said, please generate this image, and AI, hey, far out, it's crazy. But where this come from, and the whole idea behind time in the market and sealed Pokemon card pricing and it coming down and what this all means for investing, there's a lot of questions to unpack during this video, but let's jump straight into it. So where I got the idea from this image from was, if you don't know, I work in the car industry. I sell new Toyotas, and recently had a really big client, and he's had a picture in his office, and I asked him for a bit of advice when it comes to investing and making money, etc. And he's extremely successful, and he had this photo in his office, and he's had it ever since day dot, pretty much when he started his business 50 plus years ago. And it was a photo of an old man, much like this image I've got up on the screen here. It was a photo of an old man, and the caption read, "The young man waiting for property prices to drop." And I thought, you know what? That image rings really true for sealed Pokemon card investing as well, because I've heard it so many times. So many times when people are saying, oh, I'm not buying this product because I'm waiting for it to drop. And then all of a sudden, you miss the boat. And once the boat's missed, sometimes it's really hard to hop onto it. And I've been caught out as well. Like, I'm just as much in the blame here as other people. I remember Team Up, right? So we're at the start of Sword and Shield era, base had finished, and Rebel Clash had come out, and Darkness Ablaze was about to be released, and Vivid Voltage was, around the corner as the next coin set. And we had these Ladder Sun and Moon sets. We had Hidden Fates, which is an absolute banger, which, mind you, was still getting heavily printed. Like, it was coming out in waves. Like, it was still there to buy throughout early Sword and Shield era. We had, of course, Cosmic Eclipse, we had Team Up, we had Unified Minds and Unbroken Bonds. And I can remember I bought Unified Minds, Unbroken Bonds, and of course, Cosmic Eclipse. And the reason I didn't buy Team Up wasn't because I didn't want it. I wanted it desperately, but it was just a little bit dear. And I thought, well, I can probably buy myself 3 Vivid Voltage booster boxes for the price of 1 Team Up. Like, surely that's got to be the better investment. And you know what? As time went by, I ended up getting caught out. I kept saying to myself, I'll buy it, I'll buy it, I'll buy it. And then it went to $800. Then it went to $1,000. And then before you know it, we're at the place now where it feels like time has well and truly passed me by. And I just don't want to direct that much capital towards one booster box. Unfortunately, it feels like the boat for me for Team Up has well and truly sailed. But as you can see, it took as little as 5 years. But let's unpack this concept of time a little bit more, particularly when it comes to, that property photo that he had up in his office. It's really, really simple, isn't it? It's like the young man waiting for property prices to decrease in value. And another saying that comes with that, I remember, lots of people have told me this one over the years, is the best time to buy property was yesterday. And it rang true for the Team Up booster box for me. The best time for me to buy that Team Up booster box was yesterday when I was thinking about it. Because realistically, it wasn't getting any cheaper. And the same thing can ring true for almost any sealed Pokemon card product. And when we're talking sealed Pokemon card investing, as well as time in the market, sometimes it just doesn't take all that long, does it? And maybe, even if it does take a while, even if it does take 5 or 10 years for products to appreciate to a point you want them to appreciate, does that even really matter that much? People are very, very happy to go, I've bought this investment property. And look, investment properties give you other forms of income, of course. You can get rental income from them. There's tax deductions that you could possibly make in different parts of it, which you can't do with Pokemon cards. You can leverage against properties and borrow more money, etc., which you can't do with Pokemon cards. So look, there's other advantages. Of course there is. But Pokemon cards, unfortunately, you can't draw an income off. It's not like you buy a sealed product and it pays you dividends each month. That doesn't happen. You only make your money when you sell it. But that being said, people are happy to buy a property, or they won't buy a property and go, oh, I expect this to go up and double in price in 6 months. But that's almost the expectation people have with Pokemon card products these days. They're like, oh, if it doesn't happen instantly, like, it's not worth it. And sometimes people see those massive growths that, certain singles have achieved or certain sealed products have achieved and expect it to happen all the time. And that's just not realistic. So that's why you've got to have that long-term mindset. And here's probably the best example. I know, look, this is just a conversation piece. I'm probably not following the train tracks down this conversation. It's like I'm having a conversation with a friend here. But I remember a mate and I, he said, look, I really want to get into Pokemon card sealed investing. And you said, you've started it off. This is back in 2020. And I remember I bought 6 Hidden Fates Elite Trainer boxes. And he goes to me, what should I buy? And I said, look, I really think Hidden Fates will be a great investment. It's such a good Pokemon card set. It's the final Sun and Moon set. It's gone off with an absolute bang. It's got a shiny Charizard inside there in a PSA 10. When it grades, it's worth massive dollars. In a BGS 10, it's worth even more dollars. And he goes, okay, I'll buy myself 4 Elite Trainer boxes from Hidden Fates. And he did. And they sort of sat for a while. Why? Because it kept getting reprinted. And it sat for this steady price. And then slowly, it started to rise. But he didn't give it enough time. And you know what? He sold them about a year ago. And I think he was lucky to break even. Whereas if we look at it now, that time in the market, Hidden Fates just needed a little bit more time, didn't it? And that's where my advice comes to. If I can circumvent all the way back around, my advice here when it comes to time and Pokemon cards is don't set your expectations of expecting to double your money within a few months or 6 months or even 12 months. Your expectations should be a little bit longer than that. Hidden Fates is a prime example. If the Pokemon card set is good enough, which Hidden Fates is, it just needed a bit more time to mature in the market, and look at the prices of them now. They've literally doubled in the last 6 to 9 months, Hidden Fates Elite Trainer boxes. And you know what? They're only going to get dearer and they're only going to get rarer. And another example of that, to, I suppose, hammer home this point that I'm trying to make of giving things a little bit of time, is Fusion Strike. Fusion Strike sat at extremely low price of roughly $100 for a long time, like 2 years roughly. And then all of a sudden we started to see this little uptick, and as more and more of those bottom end booster boxes, the cheapest ones on the market, started evaporating, we got to this stage where Fusion Strike started making rapid gains. And all of a sudden, look, all it needed was a little bit more time in the market before it absolutely shot up in price. A little interlude in the video. A quick shout out to today's video sponsor is, of course, the Collector app. There'll be a link in the description to download it. The Collector app is awesome. So from an investing standpoint, it is so easy to use. You can put in all your singles and all your sealed product. It'll show you real-time data on pricing. You can see completed sales. The big new one now is it has set analytics, which I've been harping on about for a long time. Set analytics gives you total set value for a Pokemon card set. It also shows you the hottest cards from that set, what's selling, how constant the pricing structure is for the set, whether it's stable or relatively volatile. It is so good. The data and analytics that have been added into the app is amazing. You can also sign up to be a pro member, which gives you access to full-time data across all cards and sealed products, and you go into the draw to win the awesome prizes that come out each month. So that is today's video sponsor, of course, the Collector app. Now let's get back onto this concept to finalize this video. Time in the market and Pokemon card sealed products. So what we've sort of discussed so far is that if you're waiting for Pokemon card products to go down in price, you're eventually going to be an old man. And look, I'm not saying that Pokemon card will follow this trajectory and just infinitely get more expensive. You know what? Eventually the IP will run out of steam. Eventually, surely. But not anytime soon. Like, our generation, my generation, the generation below me, the generation above me a little bit, we've still got plenty of room left into the tank. Another 20 years, our generation's not going to be poorer. We're only going to be wealthier. And if we want to relive that nostalgia or get a piece of the pie or a slice of the pie that we could never afford when we were in our 30s like we are now, but we're in our 50s and we've got more disposable income and we want to buy that piece that we've always wanted, there's only going to be more buying power coming into the Pokemon card market, in my opinion. So in the next 10, 20, 30 years, I don't see this going anywhere. I really don't. I think Pokemon card investing as a whole is really only gaining traction at the moment. So if you're waiting for prices to come down, I think you're going to be waiting for a fair while. Now, on top of that, that's the questions you've got to ask yourself. And here's a little bit of practical advice for you. So we're in Scarlet and Violet era, of course. Sword and Shield era is gone. Sun and Moon era is just following the same trends that XY followed, which is following the same trends that Black and White's followed, which is following the same trends of all Pokemon cards, sealed product in the past, which inevitably just goes up in price, whether it's booster boxes, a favorite that's been around forever, or elite trainer boxes, which are a bit newer, or now the Pokemon Center elite trainer boxes with stamped promos inside there. You know, they're just going to continue to go up in price. And look, you can make better choices in that. Like, you can choose a better set, or maybe, you know, hope that it gets a lower print run, or whatever the reason might be. But here's some practical advice. So if we're asking ourselves, well, what do we do here? Well, it's really a no-brainer. You've really just got to get some skin in the game, don't you? Like everyone that was sitting on Evolving Skies when it got this small reprint and then all of a sudden it shot back up again. This is sort of like, you know, 4 to 6 months after it launched. And they were going, it's going to get another massive reprint. It just is. And then prices are going to plummet because they're too high. Like, I'm not paying $400 or $350 for an Evolving Skies booster box 12 months after it's launched. It's going to be reprinted and it's going to drop to $150. That picture that I showed you at the start, that's people waiting for an Evolving Skies booster box to become cheaper. It's just not going to. And it's the same with Fusion Strike right now. It's just not getting any cheaper. And if we look at the next sets up and coming, you know, things like Lost Origin and sets like Brilliant Stars, sets like Chilling Reign from Sword and Shield, they're not going to get any cheaper. They're just not. And here's the kicker, right? So in Scarlet and Violet, one of the biggest worries people have, particularly of how inflated the market is at the moment, with the amount of demand coming into the market, is they're really concerned about buying a booster box at too high a price. And you know, that's fair enough. It happens sometimes. You know, 151 Japanese is probably the best example. And personally, I got caught out with that a little bit, and people hung, draw, and quartered me about it. I'm not listening to Pokeos anymore because he gave me bad advice on Japanese 151. That's fine, okay. But my point is, okay, I got caught out on a little bit because I feel like I paid a little bit too much for it. And look, maybe it never got reprinted and I paid at a cheaper price. But we all know it did get reprinted. And not only did it get reprinted, it got heavy reprint, which absolutely squashed the prices. What's the game plan there? Okay, I bought in at a slightly higher price. I'm going to buy in at the new lower price and dollar cost average. We can use the same scenario now. I'm in the same boat. It's like, Destined Rivals is expensive. We all know it's probably going to be the best booster box from the whole Scarlet and Violet era. Like in 10 years' time, when people look back at Scarlet and Violet and they go, which booster box is the best booster box? They're probably going to go, well, Surging Sparks was cool because it was that Dragon electric-based set. You know, Paldea Evolve was cool because there's a sick Magikarp art from Shinji Kanda in there, and as a PSA 10, it's worth lots of money. Twilight Masquerade's got that cool Greninja. Paradox and Temporal Forces were pretty okay. You know, base set didn't have much. Obsidian Flames had easy pull rates. But the set I really like, yeah, it's that remake of Team Rocket, Destined Rivals. What a set that was. You know, I feel like that's the set that people are going to look back at. So people could be a bit nervous now going, well, do I buy it or do I not? Do I wait? Will prices drop? Will it get reprinted? Then they'll drop and I've spent too much money because I've bought 2 cases now and I've paid, you know, extra $50 per box. I mean, does it really matter? They're still pretty cheap in the grand scheme of things of what they're going to be in 10 years. And that's what I mean. Don't set your expectations for the next 6 months or 12 months. If you're buying sealed Pokemon card product, in my opinion, you should be holding for a minimum of like 5 to 7 years. Minimum. Let them mature. Imagine if that example of Hidden Fates, imagine if you'd sold a Fusion Strike, imagine if you bought them at 90 and then you were sitting on them at 120 for 2.5 years and you're like, this is just not moving. And then all of a sudden, bang, look at them now. They're like $600 a box. You've just got to give it a bit of time. And look, worst case scenario, say you buy some Destined Rivals now at, I don't even know what they are US dollars at the moment. I haven't checked. I know in Australia, the cheapest you can probably get one's about 350 Australian, which equates to probably like 220 US. I don't know, somewhere thereabouts. I haven't checked the exchange rate. But say you are buying them at 220 US dollars. And then all of a sudden there is a reprint. And maybe they drop to 150 or 160 US dollars. And you go, far out, like, I spent way too much money on those. Well, you know what? It doesn't really matter. Same thing. Dollar cost average down to Destined Rivals at 150 or 160 US dollars. And you've averaged spending maybe 175, 180, especially if you bought more at that lower price. Then all of a sudden, when the $300 a box, you go, I've averaged 175. That's not too bad. And then all of a sudden, when they've been given 5 or 7 years in the market and they're sitting at 700 US dollars or 800 US dollars a box, it doesn't really matter. You've still played your cards right. And probably the best example of this was 151. I remember when 151 came out, English that is, Everyone was saying, oh, it's going to get reprinted, it's going to get reprinted. I'm not buying Elite Trainer boxes at this price. I'm not buying booster bundles at this price. And we all know, as soon as booster bundles get drifted out, they just get bought up straight away. Elite Trainer boxes, bought up straight away. And it's like everyone was waiting, saying 151's going to crash. There's going to be big, massive reprints, and it's all going to go down to zero or near enough to it. I'm going to be able to buy it up. And you know what? It's going to be the same example as that old man. Everyone waiting for 151 Elite Trainer boxes or Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes to drop in price. They're going to be very old men waiting for it to come down in price. Well, there you go. That's my video for today. All about time and Pokemon cards and sealed product in the market. I'm Michael. This is PokeOz. Catch everyone next time.